It turns out all that Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray needed to get back on track was the NBA in-season tournament stage. The beam is lit after Sacramento's 105-98 victory over Oklahoma City, thanks to the offense of those two and a historic triple-double from Domantas Sabonis. You are listening to Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And no, the offensive issues are not completely fixed for Sacramento. But I'm feeling a whole lot better tonight than I did after the Blazers win. I'm feeling a whole lot better tonight than I felt after, of course, the Houston Rockets losses. Sacramento gets back on track. They're 400 on the season, and they open up the in-season tournament with a victory. They're at the top of the Western Group C, tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Golden State Warriors, at least one game in. There was a lot of curiosity in this building from myself, from fans, from media members, even from the players and coaching staff of what this tournament would look like. We saw a different court, which I'm not a very big fan of. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We saw some changes, and actually the Kings' approach to the tournament was a little bit different than just a regular season game, but ultimately it ended up adding a fun dynamic, and more importantly, whether it was for a tournament win, a regular season win, whatever, a win is a win for Sacramento, and they did so in a very different fashion to the win over the Portland Trail Blazers a couple nights ago, right? That was like, just get a win by any means necessary. That was an ugly win. Tonight, the Kings were in full control over the Oklahoma City Thunder from start to finish. They did a really good job weathering the storm, no pun intended, when the Thunder would kind of push back. And at one point, they erased a 17-point Sacramento Kings lead, or nearly erased it, got it down to 2 points, but the Kings answered. We'll talk about that in today's show. There was a lot of positive from tonight. And this was a night that, I'm going to be honest with you, myself and so many different Sacramento Kings media members that I was talking to pregame, we were kind of the expectation that this might be a rough night for the Kings. Who was going to stop Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? The Sacramento Kings have been in a shooting slump, and without De'Aaron Fox, who was going to step up to score the necessary amount of points to beat the Thunder? In the end, this was a really strong game for a handful of Kings players, a very strong game for the Sacramento Kings defense as a whole, and let's break all of this down. The Kings back to 500. The energy tonight was excellent, from the crowd here inside the Golden One Center to just the effort that the Kings played with. For the second straight game, Keon Ellis got the start, and whether or not we like what Keon Ellis brings as a two-way player to the starting lineup, what he does and has consistently brought, at least over these two games, but really consistently brings every time that he plays, is energy, is hustle. And that really helps set the tone for the rest of that Sacramento Kings starting unit. The Kings are undefeated in the Keon Ellis era, so maybe Mike Brown should just keep this ball rolling. Like I mentioned, the 17-point lead for Sacramento in the, I think it was late third quarter, was cut down to 2. Before tonight, every single home game this season, the Kings have blown a double-digit lead. Every single one. They've had a double-digit lead. They've blown it. It's gone down to 0, or even the Kings have fallen behind a little bit. It looked like they were on track to do that again as OKC made their push. But Sacramento started the fourth quarter with an awesome burst of offense. It helped that they went, I think, 3 of 5 from three-point range just to open up the third. Keegan Murray got going. Sasha Vezenkov, who really hadn't played at all to that point, came into the game and hit 2 big three-pointers for Sacramento. Like, the Kings did a fantastic job of managing this game, weathering the storm, riding the wave, not maybe bending but not breaking at times, handling what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was bringing, not allowing anybody else to really beat them other than Shai, and also making Shai work for every single point that he got tonight. Keon Ellis actually got the Defensive Player of the Game crown. It's a crown now. It's no longer a chain. Keon Ellis got it for the effort that he put in guarding SGA. Now, Shai still got his points. I think he finished with like 31 points or 33 points or something like that. Shai still got his, right? And all you can really do for a player of Shai's caliber is just make him work as much as possible. And you had a two-way player in just his second career start step up and make Shai work. And the Sacramento Kings as a whole made the Thunder work, allowing just 98 points in this game. Anytime the Kings can hold any opponent under 100 points, that's a big win. But to hold a team that's as good as the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think the Thunder are a much better team than they showed tonight. I love the path that the Thunder are on. The Kings should be better than the Thunder. It's definitely with De'Aaron Fox. Tonight, of course, they were better without De'Aaron Fox, but Oklahoma City is not a pushover by any means. So the Kings holding them to 98 points, that's not something that should be overlooked. That's something that we should definitely talk about. Speaking of talking about, I mean, Kevin Huerter, right? Can we say he's completely out of the slump? He looked like in the Blazers win, okay, finally he was getting a rhythm going. He came out of the gate tonight red hot. Really, it was him and Domantas Sabonis that set the tone for Sacramento offensively in that first quarter. It was the two of them that were torching OKC coming out of the gate. Kevin leads the Kings in scoring with 28 points, 11 of 19 from the field, 4 of 10 from three-point range. We'll take the 40%. We'll take those 4 long balls. And also, I thought he had finished with a double-double. The final box that I was handed immediately after the game said that he had 10 rebounds. Apparently, they took one away. So he just missed the double-double, but still 9 boards for your shooting guard in addition to the 28 points. Like, that's something that he's picked up a lot over the course of this season. He's crashing the glass. He's trying to make an impact on the defensive end, whether the shot is falling or not. And it was nice to see, okay, I finally have my swagger back on the offensive end, but I'm still not going to take plays off rebounding. I'm still not going to take plays off on defense. Just because my shooting is back doesn't mean that I can't do the work on that end as well, which is exactly what Mike Brown has been asking from everybody. Not just Kevin. He also finished with 3 steals in this game. What I like is Kevin didn't do anything different. And this is where some of you are maybe going like, Matt, I told you so. Like, don't panic so much about the Kings offense because at some point shots are going to fall. Well, we're going to talk about the Kings offense a little bit because while Kevin had a good night, Keegan Murray ended up having a good night, and Domantas Sabonis had his triple-double. Still, offensively, Sacramento did not shoot the ball well. So they're still, as a team, I think, in a shooting funk. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Kevin was doing the same things. He was running well off of screens, a lot of DHO with Domantas Sabonis. He was very active off the ball to get to the spots that he wanted to get to, and he was just hitting shots tonight. So it's great to see that Kevin didn't have to reinvent the wheel, wasn't trying to force anything. He got back into his flow. The shots started falling, and the confidence continued from there. And we know how hot that Kevin can get. When he gets rolling, man, he is tough to stop. Keegan Murray. I call it a crock pot game for Keegan Murray because it was a slow cooker, right? He started off slow again. He was ice cold from three-point range again. And he said, you know what? Screw it. I'm getting to the rim. I'm attacking the basket. I'm getting to mid-range. I am going to score, damn it, because the Sacramento Kings need me to score. If the three-point shot isn't going to fall, forget it. I'm attacking the basket. He had that awesome poster dunk on Chet Holmgren. Chet got put on 2 posters tonight. Domas put him on a poster, and then Keegan put him on a poster. Keegan blew by Josh Giddey and just cocked one back and threw it down. Now, I asked Keegan after the game, did Coach Brown, did your teammates have anything to say to you about that dunk? And Keegan said he was going to keep their comments to himself. He did mention having a little fun with, I guess he and De'Aaron Fox have a bet going on this season of who's going to throw down the best dunks. And he said that De'Aaron was saying that he didn't catch the full body of Chet, so it's not as good of a dunk as it could have been. Just some fun, friendly rivalry between those two players. Regardless, that's the aggressiveness that Mike Brown was asking for Keegan attacking the basket last season. So to see him do that, to see him get to the mid-range, get to the rim, take a floater in the lane to help get his offensive game going, and then in the second half, particularly early fourth quarter, he had a couple of big three-pointers to really get himself going. He ended up with 3 three-pointers on the night, 3 of 10 from three-point range, shot 8 of 17 from the field, 24 points, did have 11 rebounds, also 3 steals. There's another example of, hey, the shot wasn't falling as much as Keegan would have liked it to, But even when the shot started to fall again, doesn't matter. Keegan's going to crash the glass. Keegan's going to be active on the defensive end of the floor. Now, I'm actually kind of pissed off, if I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pissed off that Keegan and Kevin had a combined 20 rebounds between them because for PrizePicks reasons, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in the podcast, I needed Domantas Sabonis to get 14 or more rebounds tonight. He didn't have to, but he did still put on a fantastic stat line tonight. A triple-double, his first of the season, 17 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 12 rebounds, 13 assists, a couple blocks, like just a Swiss Army knife, jack-of-all-trades type performance for Domas. Now, this was a historic triple-double for him. It's his 15th triple-double as a King. Remember, this guy has not been with Sacramento for 2 full seasons yet. 15 triple-doubles for the Sacramento Kings, passing Chris Webber for most in the Sacramento era, and second in the franchise all time. Number 1 is Oscar Robinson. Now, I don't know if he's ever going to catch Oscar. So, either way, history made for Sabonis tonight. He's a triple-double machine. Of course, the Kings could use every bit of what he provided. He got going offensively with some scoring in the first quarter. His rebounding was fine. He didn't need to clean up the glass because he had so many other guys rebounding with him. And the ball movement, right? And he wasn't the only one that was facilitating ball movement. Malik Monk finished with 8 assists off the bench. So it wasn't like the Kings were running everything through Domas. He just finally got that DHO game going. This is the most comfortable that I've seen Sacramento look offensively this season, even with their shots still not falling at the rate that we would like to see them fall or that we expect to see the Kings offense fall. But the fact that we can say that still Sacramento didn't have their best offensive game, and we're going to break that more down in a little bit. The Sacramento Kings really haven't looked fully like themselves with the exception of some stretches or a quarter or tonight like a half or 3 quarters, whatever it may be. The fact that they're 500, 4-4 to start this season, especially with now 5 games without De'Aaron Fox, they can say that they're 4-4. I think that's pretty awesome for this Kings team to say, and it feels good to be more on the positive and be more on the optimistic side. And I'm glad that I'm feeling this good. I'm glad that the Sacramento Kings got the win because I personally lost tonight. I'm talking about my PrizePicks bets. Now, I have a lot of fun playing PrizePicks, and if you're not familiar with PrizePicks, you need to check it out. It is daily fantasy sports made easy. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Instead of battling against thousands of other players, including like the Sharks and the people that make a living off of just something that's supposed to be a hobby, I don't like playing against those people. I just want to play against the numbers. That's what PrizePicks provides. They have you choose more or less than projections for different stats, combined stats, whatever it may be, for 2 to 6 players, and you can win up to 25 times your entry. So it was a good night for me from the Keegan Murray scoring standpoint. It was a good night for me for Josh Giddey's assists. Everything else, I was so close. Like I had Chet Holmgren for combined rebounds, points, and assists. He had an overall pretty down night, so he didn't hit that. I needed Malik Monk to score either 3 more points or get 2 more points and an assist, and he wasn't getting that for me, unfortunately. And then Domantas Sabonis just missed the rebounds because his teammates decided that they were going to help him out on the glass. Damn it. Sabonis, be selfish. I needed you to make some money for me. But PrizePicks is just a way to make your gaming experience or watching Sacramento Kings games or watching any sporting events more fun. I highly encourage you to give PrizePicks a try. And when you sign up, make sure you use our exclusive promo code LOCKEDONNBA for an instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is so much fun, and it's daily fantasy sports made easy. Of course, the play of Huerter, the play of Murray, and the play of Domantas Sabonis, the 3-headed snake for the Sacramento Kings tonight, was a major reason why the Kings won this game. But there are a handful of different stats here that I'm going to share with you that are recipes for success for Sacramento or really any team in the NBA anytime. Let's talk about the second chance points for the Kings. 23 second chance points. They went 10 of 17 when they got second chance opportunities. 10 of 17 from the field. They got 16 offensive boards tonight. Remember how bad the Golden State Warriors killed the Kings in second chance points? That's what the Kings did to the Thunder tonight. If you can have that much success with second chance points, second chance opportunities, if the Kings can become that team that if you dare to give them another look at it offensively, they're going to make you pay the vast majority of the time. If the Kings can get to that point where like Sabonis is almost feared and teams have to throw like double box outs on Sabonis. Then you have Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter and anybody else kind of flying in and trying to help with the offensive boards too. Like that is an area where even if Sacramento's not known for their rebounding and may not win the rebound battle on any given night, they can win the second chance points battle consistently if they just cash in on those opportunities like they did so tonight. But they also dominated the rebound battle, period. They out-rebounded OKC 52-38. This Kings team doesn't usually lose when they out-rebound their opponent. They did a good job scoring off of Oklahoma City mistakes. A lot of that had to do with them getting out in transition. When this Kings team gets stops and forces turnovers, we know how deadly they are in transition. That's how that fourth quarter run really started. They forced a couple turnovers. They got a couple defensive stops, and suddenly that Kings lead that was in jeopardy became a 13-point lead like that to start the fourth quarter. That's something that good teams do, especially on their home floor. That really is what I think slammed the door shut pretty much on an Oklahoma City Thunder comeback or really took the wind out of their sails. Now, they did still make a little bit of a push, and I think Chet Holmgren and Josh Giddey came back into the game when it was within striking distance, like 6 or 8 points. But where I think the Kings truly won this game was how they started that fourth quarter, and a lot of that was from their transitions and transition buckets and their points off of Thunder turnovers. And then finally, like I mentioned too, holding any team to under 100 points, but holding a team as good as the Oklahoma City Thunder to 98 points tonight, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. And that they avoided completely blowing the double-digit lead they built. I still think they need to do a better job of maintaining and securing those leads and not letting it get from 17 down to 2. But I have a hard time complaining about anything when the Kings go wire to wire beating a team like the Thunder, especially without the play of De'Aaron Fox. But the Kings' scoring struggles and shooting struggles are still there. You know, it's funny. On tomorrow's Locked On Kings podcast, I am going to be joined by Kenny Caraway from ESPN 1320's D-Lo and KC. We recorded a podcast this morning discussing the shooting struggles of the Kings and how the Kings can work through it and whether or not I was overreacting with the concern versus it's just a shooting slump or whatever. And I even admitted as much. I said, Kenny, like, because we're talking about this before the Kings play, we're gonna both look like idiots when this podcast comes out tomorrow because the Kings are probably going to have a good shooting night. Well, the good news is Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray had better shooting nights. Still not superb, but better shooting nights. Kevin had a really, really good night. Keegan still struggled. But the Kings as a whole offensively are still working through it. Now, they only scored 105 points. I say only because we know this team averaged 120 points per game last season, and they're capable of doing that. De'Aaron Fox is absent. I'm willing to let that slide tonight, but still, it wasn't like the Kings put up 115 or 120 on the Thunder tonight. The Kings' shooting splits, not great. 41% from the field, 27% from three-point range, 76% from the free throw line. All those numbers could absolutely be better. And Mike Brown actually said it best after the game. He said, last season, they put up those shooting splits. That's a loss. I agree with him. Last season, the Kings only put 105 points on the board against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Regardless of the circumstances, it's probably a loss, whether it's in this building or in OKC. But this year, it was a win because of the defense. This is where it's like, okay, this is why Sacramento is emphasizing their defense so much, right? Games like tonight, where they can still be victorious on nights where they got good individual performances from a couple of guys, but as a team offensively, they still just weren't at the level that they're capable of being at or that they expect to be at. This was one of those nights. Now, I'm still waiting to see if the Kings are capable of getting back to that scoring level that we know that they can get to, that I believe is the bread and butter and the key to any championship success that the Sacramento Kings have. It's because their offense is still on that level or at the very least around that level, while the defense is also improved. I'm realistic about how much better I think this defense can get. Do I think they're going to hold teams to 98 points, to under 100 points on most nights? No, I don't. Can they do it every once in a while? Yes, and that's a step in the right direction. I still need to see if the Kings can have this kind of good defensive performance while also having the offensive night consistently that this team is capable of. That's what we're going to discuss a lot, or that I discussed a lot with Kenny Caraway. Again, that podcast is coming out tomorrow. The Kings had only 41 combined points in the second and third quarters. So they still had lulls in this game that allowed the Thunder to, again, creep back in, but they didn't ultimately blow their lead, and they responded when they needed to. So it's worth pointing out. It's me admitting or showing that the problem hasn't completely gone away. But, of course, tonight, way better than some of these other games without De'Aaron Fox have gone. The Kings have faced a lot of adversity to start this season. They haven't looked like themselves at times. They've had tough matchups. Of course, they're dealing with injuries as well. Mike Brown spoke about that adversity after the game, and he actually shared with us how happy he is and how he's actually glad that the Kings are facing it.
My son who works for me, Elijah, he thought I was crazy, but I told him after the second loss, I was like, I kind of like that we're going through this. It's ugly. It doesn't feel good. People are mad. Players are mad at me. I'm mad at them. They're mad at the other coaches. And if we expect to be great, this is nothing. We'll fight our way out of this, and we'll figure this out, and it'll make us stronger down the road. So to be able to see, the biggest thing for me is to be able to have some hard conversations in front of each other, okay, and look each other in the eye and respect what the next person is saying next to me or in front of me, and still stay connected and still try to do my job to the utmost degree and support whoever's in front of me. I mean, JaVale wasn't playing bad at all right? But Alex had come in that Houston stretch, and he played really well, so I wanted to reward him. So I had to go to JaVale and say, JaVale, you're going to sit down. And JaVale, being a 3-time finals guy, he embraced it. And he's been supporting Alex and whoever else is in front of him. So to have that, not just from JaVale, but from everybody else, is very gratifying to see. And I hope the guys in the locker room understand how big it is and how connected we are, and that we can get through anything if we stay connected, because we got a good enough team. So the adversity, embrace it, stay connected, and keep doing what we're supposed to do, and it'll break sooner or later.
Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. All you have to do is put $5 on the line and pick a game that you could find like the heaviest favorite out there, right? Pick that game. It doesn't matter if you'd only win 50 cents from a $5 bet. That's not what matters. Once you win, you get $150 in bonus bets for you to then enjoy finding those good bets, maybe those parlays, 2 or 3 team bets or whatever it may be. That's where you can really cash in, and you can use FanDuel's money, not your own money, to start racking up those winnings. And you can bet on things like spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. Of course, FanDuel is huge with NFL football that you can bet on every Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. But in addition to that, of course, they have great NBA action, including for the in-season tournament. Coming into tonight, the Kings had the 15th best odds of winning the tournament. They had the 4th best odds of making it out of Group C, and now here they are at the top of Group C. I'm imagining those odds have gone down a little bit, or at least maybe the odds have gone up. What is the correct term? Either way, it's probably not making you as much money as it would have coming into tonight based off of those results. So maybe cash in on that and have a little fun betting on the play-in tournament on FanDuel. There's so many things for you to enjoy on FanDuel, so get involved right now. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, admittedly, here's a little get off my lawn, right? Behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that the floor is basically gone. Tonight, it was different. It was gray with a blue streak down the middle. We actually found out, I think Jason Ross from Sacktown Sports 1140 told me this. Apparently, the reason why every single court for the in-season tournament has that streak of a different color down the middle is that's called the runway to Las Vegas, because the semifinal games and the championship game are held in Las Vegas. I don't know, like, I have this vision of NBA, like, board meeting where a bunch of people are sitting around a table and some guy was super proud of that and said, like, we got to put this strip down the middle because it is the runway to Las Vegas. And that person is probably, like, responsible as the boss of a lot of other people in that room. So they were all like, yeah, that's brilliant, boss. What a good idea. We absolutely should do that. What a dumb idea. Like, it's so silly. It's so silly. Now, look, if the Kings are going to win every single game on that court and win every single game wearing those homage to 100 years, the dark blue, royal blue, I guess, jerseys that they're wearing, then you know what? Rebrand the freaking team because I'll take wins over colors, right? I have an issue with them being the City Edition jerseys. And that being the City Edition court or the tournament court. Like, I get the rich history of the Kings organization. Hell, they've only won a championship in Rochester, right? They haven't won a championship or anything here in Sacramento. But when they came to Sacramento, they rebranded to the purple and black. Now, purple is my favorite color. So this is where I get old man, get off my lawn. I get a little curmudgeon-y. Like, I don't like that year after year after year, the Sacramento Kings get further away from the purple. I think the Kings could have done a much cooler, colorful design with the in-season tournament court that actually looked like, you know, the court of the Sacramento Kings, not the court of the Rochester Royals or the Kansas City Royals or whatever the hell city they came from. I know that they were technically blue and red when they first came to Sacramento too, but they rebranded for a reason, right? So here's my get off my lawn rant for today. Your City Edition jerseys should represent your city, not your organization's history. Your city. I'm glad they're not putting a tree on it or anything like that for the City of Trees. And maybe it would be cool to see kind of a tower bridge design. I don't know. To me, I just want to see more purple. Okay? Is that too much to ask? Like, can I just have my favorite color all the time? And it's about me, right? It's what I want. It's not what you want. It's not what Nike wants to sell all their merch, right? It's what I want. So, I didn't like the court. Just me. Sorry. Like, I didn't like it. I saw it in person. I was kind of mad about it. Now, the players seemed to be happy that it was gray instead of red, which rumor has that the NBA initially wanted the court to be red and blue, and the Kings said this looks terrible. Absolutely not. Thank God they had the sense to at least say that. But I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it. Okay? All right? Is that okay? Can I at least hate on the court tonight? There's nothing else to hate on, really, because the Kings played great and won the game, and I'm happy about that. But let me at least have that, okay? I have a question really quick before we wrap up. Does JaVale McGee ever consistently get back in the Kings rotation? I think at some point, like, he's going to play over the course of the season. At some point, his number is going to be called again. But, like, Alex Len has come in over these last two games and been really good. Tonight, 3 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks in limited minutes. If you heard me after the Blazers game, you know how big of a fan I am of Alex Len. He always stays ready. He just makes an impact for the Sacramento Kings. I love Alex Len. But not just that. Once Trey Lyles comes back from his calf strain that he's dealing with, the Kings are probably going to go small ball. So Alex Len and JaVale McGee might be out of the rotation in that sense too. I don't know if JaVale McGee gets back into the rotation consistently, maybe more than a game or two at any point for the remainder of the season. I could be wrong, but JaVale kind of played his way out of that spot with how poorly he and the Kings in general were playing over the last handful of games, and Alex Len has come in and been impactful, just like Keon Ellis has come in and been impactful in his own way with the starting unit. So I'm curious what you think about that. JaVale McGee, would you like to see him work his way back in? Do you think he's done? Let's talk about it a little bit too. Also, coming up next, the Kings have the Cleveland Cavaliers here on Monday. So they have the weekend off, and then they got Monday against Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell and company coming in. That's a good team. No idea if De'Aaron Fox is going to be ready to go or not for that game. Hopefully he is, but the Kings are showing that they can win without him or can be competitive against anybody without him, unless it's the Houston freaking Rockets, apparently. And if the Kings defeat the Cavs, they follow up an 0-3 road trip with a 3-0 homestand and get back above 500. Boy, wouldn't that be awesome, and wouldn't that make us feel good? And we've talked a lot about how important it is for Sacramento to defend their home floor and be victorious in this building regardless of who they're playing. That would be really cool and a really good way for the Kings to get back on track as going 3-0 in this homestand. And then after that, Wednesday, Kings-Lakers in Los Angeles. Why is that a big deal? Because it's the first ever Locked On Kings live watch party that we're holding at Sac Yard Community Tap House here in downtown Sacramento. You don't have to pay RSVP or sign up. All you have to do is show up, come watch the game with myself and fellow Locked On Kings listeners and Kings fans. You get 10% off of your bar tab when you come to enjoy their beers and everything that they have on tap, and as well as their amazing wines. They have a food truck coming as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping for a great turnout. It's the first time I've ever done this. Of course, there was those nerves of like, are people going to come? I would love to see you there, so I would hope that you make plans to come and join me for that. And again, it's at Sackyard Community Tap House. I would love to see that. I would also, of course, love to see you on Monday night when the Kings play the Cavs here inside the Golden One Center. If you're planning on going to that game, hit me up. Let me know. I'd love to meet with you and chat with you a little bit before the game or during halftime or something and say thank you in person. Appreciate your support as always. Great to talk about another Sacramento Kings win, back to 400, back to 500. Love that. Love that the Kings are undefeated in tournament play so far. And hey, I kind of like this tournament thing. Maybe not the court, but I kind of like this tournament thing. Let's see how it plays out. It's exciting. It's fun. It seems like the players and Coach Mike Brown are all for it too. So I'm excited to see it carry out over the rest of November and early December. Appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.